Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back. Look, I'm going to make an announcement before we start here. We've been doing this show for the last, 7.5, 8 years. It's a show by the fans, for the fans that travel home and away down the country and those that watch Spurs all around the world. I'm going to be brutally honest and say to you, this is going to be one of the toughest ever last word on Spurs shows we've had to actually record. And concerningly, they could get a lot worse than this. If it was the first time, you can find us. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. I want to say a massive thank you to our audience that always are here. Loyal support throughout so many years. Thank you ever so much. And I want to thank these wonderful panelists. Jason McGovern, who's been with me since the start of Last Word on Spurs 7.5 years ago. And it's honestly, without Jason, I'm not sure I'd still be doing this show. And I'm joined by the superb, newer to the panel, Marlon's back. And so is Luke as well on this show. Guys, thank you ever so much for showing up. Thank you to the audience that always seem to be with us here. And it's tough. It's tough because it is only football, but football is a massive part of our lives, as is Tottenham Hotspur. And right now, this isn't fun anymore. It's not fun covering the football club. It's not fun watching Tottenham. And when it plays such a huge, important part in a lot of our lives, I honestly have got to say this. I have no idea where to go and where to start. But look, Tottenham have now failed to win 11 successive league games for the first time since October 1975. After that latest defeat to Crystal Palace, Tottenham won, Crystal Palace 3. It's the first time Spurs have lost 5 consecutive Premier League matches since November 2004, a run of 6. Our last win in the Premier League, ironically, you have to go back 67 days ago, which was against Crystal Palace. But in the last 11 Premier League games, Tottenham have 0 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats. We are 20th in the form table, as many know. Another unwanted record broken. 9 games in a row, we've conceded 2 goals or more, as this result pretty much ensures Crystal Palace are virtually safe and Spurs remain 1 point above the bottom 3. But let's be honest about it. With every game that goes by, relegation is fast becoming a reality at the moment. And what does that mean for the future of Igor Tudor, who quite possibly may have just had his last game in charge of Spurs and has only been in charge of 3 of them? If you can for us out there, like, hype, subscribe to the show. That would be greatly appreciated. Before I bring in these wonderful gentlemen, let me take you through those match facts and the stats. It finished Tottenham 1, Crystal Palace 3. Tottenham, 12 shots to Palace's 9. Spurs and Palace, they shared 4 shots apiece on target. Palace is keeping it busy, actually, the 2-3-1. Tottenham, 17 tackles to Palace's 23. Tottenham dispossessed 14 times in the game to Palace's 11. Spurs, of course, with a 1 red card that really, maybe you'd say, hinged on the game changing in Micky van der Ven. But what can be no doubt is of the fact the red card was fully warranted for Micky van der Ven. And just as Christian Romero is set to walk back into the team, we lose Micky van der Ven, which is a real, I think, signal of the lack of real, genuine leadership we have in the playing group. And that's before you even get started with the hierarchy who have left us in the position that we are in. And the fear it's only going to get worse. Tottenham, 28 clearances to Palace's 32. Spurs, 6 corners to Palace's 3. Tottenham's possession, 40% at home to Palace's 60%. Obviously, Palace having the extra man. And Tottenham XG-wise, 1.71 to Palace's 1.96. If you can for us out there, guys, as I mentioned, like, hype, subscribe to the show. That would be greatly appreciated. Jace, I'm going to open with you, mate. I know we were speaking in the green room that we have had some tough shows to do in the last 7.5 years. The concerning thing is that there will probably be some tougher ones to come even after this one. But look, big boos at full time as Spurs lose by 3-1. And look, we essentially imploded over a 7-minute period, really, just after Micky van der Ven's red card, which, as I mentioned, there's no argument. He had to go. Igor Tudor, he matches Martin Jol's record of losing his first 3 games in charge of the football club. It's our 18th defeat of the season in all competitions. It's 11 matches without a win. Still haven't won a Premier League game this year, and we're in early March. 2 Premier League wins in 20, from which Spurs have taken just 12 points. That's over half the 38 Premier League fixtures. It's a night where you felt Spurs had to win to stop the nightmare becoming a reality. And of every game that draws closer and closer, Jason, that reality looks like relegation feels imminent. Your thoughts, Jason, on the game first before we come to the wider picture, what it means for Igor Tudor and where this leaves Tottenham as a whole?
I thought it was a strange team to start with. I think we all had Richarlison starting. So that was a surprise, although it wasn't. I'd have played Richie instead of Kolo Muani, but we seem stuck on thinking Kolo Muani is going to turn things around for us when he's not. I thought we are a little bit fortunate to go in front. In fairness, I thought Palace started the game much better. Could have been 1-0 up inside a minute, couldn't they? Looked the more composed side. I mean, first 10 or 15 minutes in, I think Palace had 85% of the ball at home, and this is Crystal Palace that have won 2 of their last 12. I think coming into the game, we're not talking about a home to one of the top sides, are we? So, but somehow we get ourselves in front. But the implosion within minutes of that from Micky. So I mean, you can have a go at managers, you can have a go at formations and things, but when your captain on the night does something as utterly brainless as that, I don't think Sar's getting the ball, but even if he does, so be it. 1-1 with an hour to go or something like that. But for Micky to do what he done was just shows that his brain is all over the place. That the lack of composure from us in so many things that we do is shocking. That and at the end of the day, 3-1 totally flattered us, didn't it? My fear at half time was that they'd go on and win it by 4, 5, 6 type of thing. And I think if Palace had really wanted to, they could have done. So it's an absolute shambles, and without a doubt, it's the first time. I don't think with Tudor we do stay up now. I just his selections, how he wants us to play. I mean, to set up at home to Palace effectively with 7 defensive players on the pitch in a game that we have to win. And a team that, like I say, Palace aren't in great form ourselves. That that's a worry in itself. Without Richie on the pitch, the one with a little bit of fight, then the substitutions we were making in the game, even when VDV gets sent off, to bring on Gallagher, he brought on Gallagher and Bissouma at that point, didn't he? I think
it took Xavi. It took but he put Sousa off.
Then you're thinking, what the hell formation is this? I just, I have no confidence that we'll get a single thing under Tudor. So
no.
unless the club does something incredible, that he wouldn't put it past if we do something incredible. But I just, tonight's the first night my confidence has gone that we're now more likely to go than stay up.
I want to come on to the guys, Jace, but also I want you to share, if you're comfortable, what you said with me in the green room about the decisions that have been taken this season, just on the back of what you just said about doing something incredible.
The decisions ever since that parade that we've taken, every single one of those decisions has backfired spectacularly. It doesn't matter which one it was. The sacking for me was wrong, but other people would have their opinion. But Thomas Frank was the wrong opinion. It was the wrong opinion to keep him after Forest. It was, Brennan Johnson's gone on to do nothing for Palace. But how the hell we sold a player that would have been of use to us on the 2nd of January for 35 million that was for what? What are we selling for? How did that improve the team? The whole handling of the January window, the fact that he's still in charge after West Ham. Then when we finally have done it, to bring in Tudor that's fixed on this back three when we don't have 3 centre-backs, to play Porro as a right centre-back tonight, it's just baffling decisions like that. Square pegs in round holes. All that will say, these players desperately need a shot of confidence from somewhere, and square pegs in round holes is not going to give them that. So, it is an absolute mess. for sure. And I don't see how we get out of it now unless something drastically happens.
Well, we're going to come on to what does come next for Tottenham. We're also going to hear from Igor Tudor shortly and what his future looks like. Before we do, Luke, it's always a pleasure to have you back on the show. I know a lot of our viewers and listeners absolutely love having you on the show, as well as Marlon. And this is tough times because, I mean, you, I think, said it to us in the green room that just when you think the midweek fixtures couldn't get any worse, and then in typical Tottenham fashion, it does, and we play, because there was a feeling that even we hadn't played the other night, still the world was conspiring against us. And look, as I mentioned to Jason, we absolutely collapsed after the Micky van der Ven red card. I think Jason was right what he was saying, that even before the Micky van der Ven red card, we were very lucky to still be in the game. We went ahead, actually. It feels like a long time ago now, and you reflect on this. But it was just so easy for Palace. I mean, I do want to highlight Archie Gray. He's probably the one player that, for me on the night, tried to soldier on, tried to persevere under very, very difficult circumstances. And I will mention that he's the only real player to come out of any sense of credit. But it feels at the moment that when I look at the playing group, they've accepted their fate. And it's almost inconsequential to them whether Spurs go down or not, because they know a lot of these players, they will not be here next season, right? But as fans, we will be. We will be here supporting the team in the Championship. We will, if that happens. Luke, before we get into the wider context on Tudor and the bigger picture of all this, your thoughts on the overall game, mate, and lovely to be back on.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on. I wish it was obviously in better circumstances, but yeah, I completely agree. I think Archie Gray definitely comes out of it with some sort of credit, if you can call it that. I feel like Tell is always someone that tries to do stuff, or albeit even though he technically wise and sometimes it doesn't come off, at least he's trying to do something. Whereas I think a lot of it that we seem to see, nobody seems to have the confidence to even try anything. Talking about basic passing, passes being fizzed into players at wrong pace, players not looking for the ball, not creating angles, not trying to get on the ball, not trying to dictate. Every single game I watch of Spurs currently, and it has gone on for quite a while, it feels that every time a player gets the ball, they're being pressured. Whereas every time an opposition player gets the ball, he's got the whole park to kind of play in. And Jace is right. I feel like at the moment, when you're in such a bad run of form with so many players that are struggling, you play in 15-minute intervals. So first thing is, first 20 minutes, keep it solid. Don't give away anything silly. Don't get the fans on your back. As Jay said, that Vicario pulls off a decent save in the first minute. They score 10 or 15 minutes later, and then it's given offside, and it's literally by a nose. And you're just thinking like, oh, what are we gonna serve up here? Then you go and take the lead, and first thing, as soon as we took the lead, I was like, right, just get to halftime now. Don't do anything stupid. Just hold out. You know what I mean? You've created something. Archie Gray's been able to get around someone. He's been able to get to the light. Solanke's been able to put one in, a bit of confidence. Just get to halftime, regroup, kind of go again. And as you said, in 7 minutes, you go from leading the game 1-0, being 3-1 down, and having your captain sent off. Like, this is just what is happening at Spurs right now. And that's why, for me, the team that was announced shocked me. Initially, I thought it was 4-3-3. I thought we was going to play players in the positions that effectively, that's where they play. I thought that's why, for me, my prediction was Sousa would start, because we need a left-footed left back. And I thought when I see the team, I thought he was going to go in the midfield. He was going to go Gray, Palinia, and Sarr, basically to just get in and amongst Adam Walton and don't let him dominate the game. Nope, we're playing a right back at centre back. We're playing a centre midfielder at right back. We're playing it just didn't work. And then, even as you said, the subs, it was just a bit strange, really. And Walton dictated the game. Walked off with 2 assists. Like, it's just, he's their best player. He's their focal point. Get a couple of players around him and try and stop him. And that's what I thought we would do. But it's just this just goes way back. This has gone on for far too long. I think the fans, so many times, what do we do this with players as well? I think Jace is exactly right. We talk about selling players. I'll sell him, Seller Johnson. All right, who are you bringing in that's better than Johnson? The answer was we brought nobody in, so that's not better than Johnson. Sack this manager. All right, are you going to bring in someone that's better than that manager? Because if he's not better, there's no point sacking him. This is what we was all saying about sacking players and getting rid of players and everything else. Spurs don't ever upgrade. All we do is get someone in worse, and then complain that we've got worse. That's what happens. We don't bring in the right people. We was told in January there was no one out there that could improve this squad. And I could literally go over to the local park and there'd be someone having a kickabout at 11 o'clock at night, and they could probably improve this team at this moment in time. So it's just bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And unfortunately, it's been going on far too long. Kane and Son papered so much over all of these cracks. We all said it as a joke. Oh, yeah, if we lost them, we'd be relegation battle. Well, they've both gone and we're in a relegation battle. So it kind of proves a lot about where we're at this moment in time.
Luke's hard to agree with a word you said there. He really, really is. Marlon will bring you in. Oh, mate, I know this is technically what we've become accustomed to doing here by doing these shows, but I am really at a loss for words in terms of what comes next. And just when you think Spurs, it can't get any lower, it does. And I think, like Luke touched upon there, I think it's really important we say this. And again, I know it's been mentioned on a lot of shows, but the failure to not strengthen in January and delay the sacking of Frank, and then maybe now looking back in hindsight, appoint someone who's never managed the Premier League to try and get us out of trouble. It's two of the worst in all of this. And it's been abundantly clear, as I said to the boys there, Marlon, that there doesn't appear to be a single Tottenham player in this squad. Maybe by Archie Gray, as we see in that game, and there's been Solanke in the previous one to that, and Tell, that really do care if we stay up or not. I mean, the attitude across the squad is unacceptable. And you're looking at your leaders that are meant to be the people that you turn to at times that have been tough. You've had Romero that got himself suspended. Now Micky van der Ven in this game makes a unforgivable action, like Jason said at the start of the show, that now rules him out for the trip to Liverpool as a minimum. And then on top of that, Pedro Porro storming off onto the bench, frustrated, angry. You know, the attitude across the squad, man, is big concerns. The boardroom is a greater concern as well. I mean, through the club, it just feels at the moment that, you know, it's on fire. It's on fire. This is like a raging fire and nobody knows how to put it out. But what I do know is, having seen these 3 games and 3 different formations from Igor Tudor, who we're going to hear from in a second, he definitely is not the answer to save us. So your overall thoughts on what you made of that game before we come onto the wider picture in this?
So, look, I was at the game on Sunday, and I was there with Ash, and after the game, we didn't talk to each other for about half an hour, 45 minutes. Literally, to think we talk to each other every week, because obviously we do a show together and we didn't talk to each other for 45 minutes. We come back the next day, we got our guests, we did our show, and we both let it out. I gave up on them after Sunday, and I didn't. When I saw the team tonight, I didn't care who was playing where, because everyone's talking about formations and this, that, and the other. But when they have played in the right position, this team has still been given the stinking performances they have given us all season. It doesn't matter where they play. The problem is right now, as you've all said, is the effort that these players are putting in. We could have played any formation tonight, but if they're not putting in the effort, they're still going to get beat. And that's what we've been seeing all season. Because it's not just been recently where they've been playing out of position. They've been playing in positions, their right positions, probably back in November and December, and we're still seeing defeats. We've watched 2, everyone has to remember, 2 home games we've won this season. 2, that is it. So when everyone's banging on about this, that, and the other, it like the next manager could come in, and if they're not putting in the effort, it doesn't matter what we do next. It literally doesn't really matter, because they're not showing anything right now. Richarlison is probably the only man I believe in right now who can get us out of this situation, because he's been through it before. But some of these players have been relegated before as well. And that's what worries me. And we can blame everything. There's a catalogue of errors that have been made over the last few months. And tonight, when I saw, and I said after Sunday, when I went against Palace, I said, we're not going to win. And then when the results came through, I said, the boys are going to see that and they're going to give up. They literally were going to give up. And that's what we saw. They've literally given up, most of them. Archie Gray, yeah, he hasn't given up. But the rest of them, what's the point? Vicario is still making the same mistakes. Van der Ven, I've said, has been useless for weeks. Now that Romero's out of the team, who everyone wants to blame Romero, now we're seeing what it's.
But Romero is part of the reason Marlon we're in this mess as well.
Yeah, he's part of the reason. Yeah, I'm not sitting there, but I'm sitting there saying the fan base used him as a scapegoat, but actually see other players as well, including on top of him. And now people are seeing that. Replacing Gallagher with Brendan Johnson, and this is where I make Jason right. I remember coming at you actually saying, look, if they're trying to get rid of him, let's see how the rest of the window goes. But if you're going to replace Gallagher with Johnson, you're basically taking goals out of the team. That's literally what you've done in the first day of January, is taking goals out of the team. And then we wonder why we can't now score.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just problems everywhere. And what I can't see, and I've been saying this for weeks, I can't see where we're going to pick up points. This is the biggest issue now, because I remember was worried we needed to pick up points against Leeds, Forest, and I remember saying Palace at the time. My worry was all of them were at home. Our away games are tough as it is. So
and just on that point, Marlon, this is an audio. We've got to go away to Wolves, Liverpool. Wolves don't look like an easy game now, does it anyway? Liverpool away, Villa away, Chelsea away. I mean, just so everybody's clear, when you look at the fixtures from last year, the reverse, between now and the rest of the season of last year, the only game we won was Everton. We lost all the other games remaining, if you look at last season.
And we've started that trend already.
Yeah.
Like, we've lost to Fulham today, and we lost to Fulham on Sunday, and we lost to Palace today. So we lost both them games last year. So the likelihood is that we're going to follow those results again. At this present moment, all we're hoping for is that Forest do what Forest have been doing, and kind of have those indifferent results where they go, it's up and down like a yo-yo. Because at the moment, we're not getting anything. We're not getting anything from any of these games. And the fact now that it depends on how long Van der Ven's going to be missing. Romero comes back next, and we're without defenders as well now. We're starting to lose players week in, every week. And I think Lange's comments will always haunt him on that January transfer window when he wears, we'll have players coming back. Mate, we're going to have players missing.
Oh, we didn't want to panic. We didn't want to panic.
And I think the one thing that hasn't helped, from what I hear, is that the club won't even talk about the R word. Well, you better start talking about it now, because if you don't start to getting it around it, actually the big implications of what's going to happen to them as players as well. You don't want relegation on your TV, no matter who you are.
Not a club like Tottenham.
No,
not a club like Tottenham.
Yeah, there's been mad moments, but you don't want relegation on your CV, because it does follow you around, no matter who you are. And right now, I just don't have the words to know what's going to happen or what comes next. But all I'm saying to people is, you better prepare, because it's going to be. I think it's the first time. I think I was around for Ozzy Ardiles. I was young, but I was around for him, and I said at the time, the seasons are very much like that. If we can get that magic moment of where we can just pull our result out of our arse.
But this is the problem, Marlon. It looks like the players have forgotten how to win. They're so bereft in their confidence that they have actually forgotten how to win.
And this is always why the problem was, and people won't like this. This is why when you go back to last season and after January, I know he said he had to give it up to win the Europa League, but once you get into a Premier League rhythm, it starts to feed, and it looks like, especially the home games, how have we gone so long without winning at home is just like unreal. And it does breathe that, and that's probably why they're looking at the Champions League games this year, and there's been a bit of belief. They've played so well in the Champions League, bar Villarreal and Monaco were the two games where you went, okay, they're out. But they've actually played really well in the Champions League. It's like two different, and I get Premier League is completely different to the Champions League, but they've looked more free. We've looked better when they've looked like they knew how to win in those games. They get back to the Premier League and they're like, oh yeah, here we go again. It's just unbearable at the moment, and I just don't know where we go from here. Literally don't know where we go.
Jason, I want to come to you before I go for the first break. I'll bring you off mute just in a second, but I know for a lot of people out there, it feels like it's blatantly obvious that the group of Tottenham players maybe think maybe they're just too good enough or too good to play in the Championship next season if the club are relegated. But I'm really concerned about how we save this. You know, we'll come on to the manager in a second, but do you see anyone in that playing group, bar Archie Gray, that's going to get us out of this at the moment? Because the players, like I said, I feel have forgotten how to win. They're bereft of confidence. It's almost like they've forgotten how to play football, Jason. Do you recognise that as well?
Without a doubt. If no one's got any confidence or belief in it, then you can't see how you're getting out of it. That's for sure. I mean, Dom's got what, 5 since he come back, 5 or 6 goals since he's come back. So and he took his goal well tonight. You feel that if him and Richie are up top, we might score goals, but we're just conceding goals for fun and conceding chances so easily that, you know, are we going to win a game 4-3? Really? Can't see it, can you? So you need that confidence and belief in the team, and it's just not there at the moment. And until that's there, you can't see anything. And it's going to take. I mean, we can sit here and say, "Where's the next winning from?" None of us can see it. It's just it's going to take one absolute fluke to get a win from somewhere. You know, I mean, when Wolves were 2-0 down at Arsenal, you would never have said they will take 7 points from their next 3 home games. So that's how quick that something can change, that you sit there and think, I can't see that coming, and yet it does. But it's going to take something extraordinary and out of anything we can see for us to get through this moment. That's for sure. And as you say, you know, when you look at those games left, I thought going into Palace, I did expect us to beat Palace tonight. Even after Fulham, I thought if we can beat Palace, there's a chance. But it's not just that we've lost tonight. Again, it's the manner of it. You just look at it and think, Jesus Christ, this is woeful. And it was woeful at 0-0. It was woeful at 0-0. So
the first minute they could have scored.
Exactly. And you know, with Chelsea away on match day 37 to come, Jesus Christ, we need. You're looking at probably having to win 4 of our next 6 games. And you can only do that with confidence and belief, and they're bereft of it at the moment. So, you know, absolutely something has to happen in that Forest game that none of us can see happening.
Well, on that point, we're going to hear from Igor Tudor. We'll discuss what his future looks like and maybe who Spurs will turn to if Spurs do let the Croatian grow, because he was a man that was renowned for coming in and making immediate impacts at football club. He's lost his first 3 in charge. As I mentioned earlier, the same record that Martin Jol had when coming into the job, losing the first 3. But the problem after the fact of having the immediate bounce from Tudor is that does, after a period, seem to dry up. So the problem is, has that immediate bounce he would have had already gone in for Tottenham standards? Let's hear from Igor Tudor, and then we're going to come back. If you can, for that, guys, like, hype, subscribe to the show. That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's hear from the head coach for now, Igor Tudor, on what he made of that defeat to Crystal Palace.
Hello, Igor. Thanks for your time. Well, that just didn't turn out at all the way you would have wanted tonight.
Yeah, we are disappointed. We lose the game. Even we start good and we had 1-0, then the red card changed the game. It was totally different game after. Fortunately, we won in second half. We pushed it, but we didn't make it.
Lots of fans leaving at half-time, the stadium half empty,
Yeah.
full time, 1 point.
Of course, I understand the fans. Also, it's a normal things that happen in football. They are disappointed. They wanted more. We are aware of that. We also want to give more. Fortunately, this is the moment that we pay everything. 1 red card change everything. So I will tell you now. Maybe it will sound strange, but I believe more after this game than I believe before. I saw something. I need to choose the right guys, because the boat, I said, now is going in direction that I want to go, that need to go, and who is in the boat can stay. Otherwise, can bow down. How you say that? Leave the boat. So when the other players will come back and choosing the rights, I'm sure that we'll have a good teams and the victory will come back. It's not easy to accept the moment where we are now, but how is it?
But you weren't brought in to see fans leaving at half-time, the stadium half full, being 1 point above the relegation zone, losing 3 games on the bounce. Yeah. You're obviously a good coach, you're a nice guy, but is this the impossible club to manage at the moment?
No, I don't want to speak now of the club. I want to be positive because I believe really. I saw now the guys, I cannot tell them nothing in the end after this game. They gave everything. Unfortunately, we pay every details. So if we can say that red card is a detail, it's always something, let's say, with all the problems we have now, missing the defenders today, we missing the fullbacks, and these are the problems we already know. I don't want to speak about that, but we need to stay together now. I always repeat the same things, but how is it? Believing and growing, to not make mistakes. This is the key in the end of the football. Stay there, not doing mistake. 1 goal, you always score. 2 goals, you can score, but it's important to not make mistakes in the football. Unfortunately, now in this moment, we pay everything, but it will turn off. I believe it will change everything. Still nine games to play. You
sound like you're determined to keep fighting, to carry on. Do you think the hierarchy will allow you to keep fighting and carry on? Will the hierarchy allow you to stay, do you think, now?
Hierarchy?
The bosses, the board?
The bosses. I don't think in that direction. I have my job to do, and that's all.
Will we see you in that seat again?
What?
Will we see you in that seat again, do you think?
No comment on that question.
Just down the front here, please. Igor, did Micky van der Ven say anything to the team at half-time or after the game?
It's a private thing or dressing room.
Private thing, okay. I mean, it feels like at Tottenham there's always something going wrong this season, whether it's a red card, an injury. I mean, how difficult is it to kind of be suddenly thrust in amongst this?
What do you think? How difficult? It's very difficult. Yeah. But what you can do, you need to keep working, believe, working on everything. Try to help these guys, because I understand. It's I see them every day. They care. They want to do. They try to do. But this moment is like that. So what I said, to stay calm. You need to stay calm, keep working. And it will turn off. It will change the situation.
Do you think there's a discipline issue at all at the club?
What?
A discipline issue. Do you think there's any problems in
there
that?
There is no discipline issue at all. Opposite.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So that was Igor Tudor there on the back of Spurs being beaten at home by Crystal Palace 3-1 in the Premier League. It leaves Tottenham teetering on the brink of heading into the relegation zone. We remain a point above it. Tottenham 16th in the Premier League, of course, just below Nottingham Forest 17th, and West Ham in 18th, but both sides in a better form guide overall than Tottenham at the moment. Tottenham bottom of the form table, haven't won a game in 2026. Just before we go back to Tudor, Dominic Solanke had been talking to TNT after the game, in which he had said that we've just had a big conversation as a group. We know the position we are in is definitely not where we want to be. So we need to figure out how we're going to get ourselves out of this as soon as possible. We know there's been difficulties. We just saw an animated press conference there from Igor Tudor, who was questioned very much under scrutiny around whether he will still remain the head coach of Tottenham. He's been in charge of 3 games. He's lost them all. We've had 3 different formations during his time so far at the football club. this might sound pretty brutal. I have not seen one single thing he's improved since he's come into the football club. Not one. And people will think it's insanity to stay, again, calling for another manager. And what I will say is, I know it's been doing the rounds on social media in this last few days that Spurs reportedly, and wait for it, because I know you only hear these things about your last one on Spurs because of how crazy this football club is. We've heard suggestions from Nick Boycha, who's the grandson of Vivian Lewis, that Spurs are maybe eyeing up a triple dream team of Harry Redknapp, Jermaine Defoe, and Tim Sherwood to potentially come in and take the reins. Jason's laughing in the background because Jason probably can't believe what he's hearing, although he's done this show with for about 7.5 years. So, Jason, I'm not sure why you're looking so surprised. But in all honesty, going back to Igor Tudor for a second, he suggested there for him that he's more confident now, having seen that we've got a chance of staying up. Talk to me, Jason. What do you think about his future?
I've been confident all season, but having seen that tonight, even my confidence has gone. That's
in him,
sure.
in him, as in if he remains, you think we'll get relegated if he remains?
Without a doubt, if he remains, we get relegated. I can't see what he does to, just like I say, some of those substitutions tonight. I'm thinking, what are we now trying to do? You just look muddled, thinking he seems convinced that Moan is the man who's going to save us, doesn't he? He's the one that he constantly has had in that starting lineup. I think, what on earth does he see in Kolo Moani as a Premier League player?
He's managed him before, so maybe
that's
it.
He's managed him before, but in a totally different league, in a totally different team. Juve weren't in the mess that we were in when he was in that side, and there's another player completely bereft of confidence. I mean, the last time I saw Kolo Moani was sitting with his backside on the crash barrier, looking forlorn that a car had crashed or something. He looked like he was going to burst into tears that day. I mean, this is the if that's the man who's going to, Tudor thinks he's going to save us and fire goals and turn in performances for us. I don't know. Like I say, every single one of us would have put Richarlison in that side tonight. Every single one of us. Who is the only one that's gone through and actually come out the other side of this?
Yeah.
So, and when he talks in his pre-match conference about Richie, he likes him as a player, he likes how he speaks, but he can't get in the side. I mean, we are in desperate need, but I mean, a 3-man committee. I mean, please. I mean, at a possibility, do we need a 3-man committee? With a dick eater at the jungle coming in. I mean, I just, please. I know he's a cheeky chappy on TV, but he's been irrelevant in football management for 15 years now. I mean, I get the clamour for Sherwood and Defoe and things like that, but Jesus Christ, if that's what the season is coming down to, then we are in absolute shit streak, that's for sure.
But all I want to go back to and say is we know we're in shit street, which is why we're in this position. We wouldn't really be sitting here considering Harry Redknapp, with all due respect, that managed 10 years ago in the Jordan national team. If we weren't in shit street, we are in shit street, which is why.
But what, if you bring Sherwood and Defoe in, what is Harry there to do? What actually is he there to do?
What, instead of a bit of confidence?
Sherwood as such would be the manager that we all. That's presumably. And Defoe's there as a coaching staff, recent game at Tottenham, recent player. I mean, what is Harry there to do? He's not going to sign any players, is he? What is he there to do?
But I mean, I'm going to be able to say this to you, and people probably, I don't know, they felt the same.
Just provide a bit of entertainment in a press conference and come out with a funny quote. That, I just can't see it.
All I would
can't
say
see what he brings to the club.
Yeah, I mean, on Tim Sherwood, for me, it was probably one of my most unhappiest periods of managing Tottenham when Sherwood was in charge and brought a fan down on the dugout. It was almost like an embarrassment, really, of where Spurs had become when Sherwood was there. So the fact that he's even being mentioned and mooted in part of a three-way group, that doesn't fill me with any confidence. But the thing about Harry Redknapp for me is that I understand, Jason, everything you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but the thing with Harry is that he does appear to be somebody that maybe lifts spirits, and he may connect with the English players. Maybe he won't connect at all with the squad, and that's obviously why.
I get that, but But surely Sherwood and Defoe would be coming in to give motivation and confidence. Because if you're saying that you don't have enough belief that those two can give motivation and confidence, that you need Redknapp as well as a third one, then what's the point of bringing those two in? You might as well just give it to Redknapp and sod off, tell the other two to go away. I mean, you know, what do you want, a 15-man committee? I mean, that's what I mean. Surely anything Redknapp can do is what you want Defoe and Sherwood to be able to do on their own.
I know people feel like it's like soccer raid. One other thing to ask you, Jace, before I bring the other guys in. One other thing, I mean, Jace, we mentioned Robbie Keane potentially to come in and take it, but would it be the proviso with Robbie that if Robbie, look, I'll just say this and let you come back in. Jason, whoever comes in now for Tottenham keeps us up is a hero. They generally are because of where we are right now. I think we're all going to admit whoever comes in the door right now and keeps Tottenham in the Premier League is a hero. So if you were to go to Robbie Keane now at Ferencváros and say, look, come and take the job and he keeps us up, there might be an argument where you say, look, Robbie, yeah, then you've got the opportunity with it next season. Because I don't know where we turn from here, but right now, we need somebody else. Do you feel, and Jason, you're telling me that, well, you say you feel that we need somebody else as well.
Yeah, well, we are going down under Tudor for sure. We are going down under Tudor for sure. So, you know, if you do go to Robbie and he keeps us up, then you'd have to give him the job. And I can't see how Robbie Keane's going to turn around and say, I'll go to Tottenham for 6 games and that's it. I'll chuck away everything I've worked hard for over the last 3 or 4 years just to manage Tottenham for 6 or 7 games. It's not going to happen. So if he comes, you're going to have to give him a proper contract from the day one. But like I say, you know, whoever it is, you can't have 3 or 4 people doing the job. I mean, if you haven't got confidence in a double act, you shouldn't need a triple act, really. You shouldn't have a triple act.
I know it's hard putting you on your asking you on your
Sherwood,
feet.
I mean, you know, our next game is Liverpool in the Premier League. I remember Tim Sherwood sitting in the stands when we lost 4-0, saying it was pointless me being on the touchline because I couldn't affect the game.
I know.
You're suddenly going to turn to him to affect the game. I mean, dear, oh dear.
Before I bring the guys in, I need to bring the other guys in. Jace, do you have any other option for you out there? It's not a Dyche or a diet. It's not a Dyche or a diet. It's not a Paddy Power gig, is it?
Perhaps just give it to the players. Just tell them, look, you've got us into this mess. You have no belief or confidence in anyone else. Give it to Romero. Say to Romero, go on, you save it. I mean, it's just, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I just know Tudor's not the answer. I just know Tudor's not the answer.
Luke, let me bring you in, mate. I'm sorry you had to wait there for a while. I had to grill Jace a little bit. Luke, where are you on this for you in terms of Tudor? Do you have the same feeling as Jason that if we continue under Tudor, this club's going down?
Yeah, I mean, it looks very, very difficult. I'm still not sure if they're bringing in Sherwood and Defoe to start because I think they could probably get in our team at this moment in time. So Sherwood might be in centre midfield and Defoe up front. We might stand a chance. So, but this is the problem, right? We are clutching at straws. We're hoping for that one shot in a million. But this is how the club has operated over the last 15, 20 years. Like this is what we do. Everything we do is not a gamble as in we're going to gamble and go for it to there is to do. It's a gamble as like, well, let's buy them young and hopefully they become really good. Let's get a manager in that can develop youth and nothing's ever done with purpose. Nothing's ever done as a plan. Nothing's ever done and put in steps because this is the goal and this is where we want to get to. Everything's very reactionary and this is what's really, really strange is that we knew that we was struggling in January. Everybody knew it. Everyone could see it. You had so many injuries and it weren't like they were a couple of weeks injuries. These were injuries where they were months and months. And also it's not like this hasn't happened previously where we get more injuries or the injuries don't return when we expect them to return. So this isn't something new. And I remember coming on saying about Brennan Johnson, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me because I don't back the fact anyone else is going to be brought in when he's sold. And lo and behold, that didn't happen. And we've done it year on year. We done it last January was exactly the same. We didn't have any centre half, so we waited until February the 2nd before we signed a centre half. This just happens continually. So I'm not really that surprised by it. But what is the plan? What is the idea? Because we're all sitting here going, who can come in for 9 games? Because we expect that Poch is the guy they want. But what if he's not? We don't know he is, because
you're right,
the rumor is they're not even interested in him. They've not even spoken to him. They've not even had conversations with him. So apparently there's reports coming out that we're looking at new directors of football and we've got investors who want to invest. We don't know what league we're going to be in yet, but we can't go and speak to a manager. So we're going off of the fact that Poch is the one that's going to come in. He might not be. So if we turn around and say to Robbie Keane, Poch isn't the one we want, we're not going to go back. We've tried that, it didn't work, and for whatever reasons, but we're not going there. And then he could be offered the job for 18 months, 20, whatever it may be. So, but again, we're trying to second guess Spurs, and I generally feels like they wake up every day and go, right, today we decide this, and then tomorrow it could be a completely different decision. So I think this is just it's just an accumulation of several different things. And you're right. Look, there's going to be people in the chat that are going to say, well, you said Frank should go, and there's going to be others that said, well, you said that Ange should go. The facts are, I said all of this last year. It makes absolute not a jot of difference who's in charge, because we need to have a clear plan, a clear vision about what we want to be as a football club. What I kept saying is that we go and we buy a load of players for a manager. We get rid of that manager. We bring in loads more players. We get rid of those players. We bring in a lot. And we've done exactly the same thing with Tudor. He's brought in, and now he wants to play 5 at the back. We've got 2 fit centre halves. So it just makes no sense. So you can also be right in terms of I was one of them who said, I think it's time for Frank to go. And just because Tudor's not the right person, that doesn't mean you're wrong in saying that Frank should go. Like, Frank,
no, of course
still
not.
looked like it looked like we were still going to get relegated under Frank. It looked to me, I couldn't see anything going well. And you're right, Tudor's come in. Would I have gone with a manager that's never been in the Premier League before? No, I don't see how that makes much sense. But Jason's right, because what should have actually happened is that West Ham performance, when you should have been 3 or 4 down at half time, there was never going to be a performance worse than that. And actually, the results that followed, they wasn't out of the ordinary, really. Everyone could see those defeats coming that were coming up. So it wasn't like there was a string of things that happened under Frank towards the end where it was like, well, this is untenable. It was just as bad when we got battered by West Ham and should have been 4 down at half time. So at that point, they should have made the decision. You make the decision then, you give a good manager 6 months, you give him a bit of a transfer window and a couple of players, and then they can then go.
No, go on, mate, come on. You're fine. You're fine.
And then they can then come in and make a bit of influence. They can come in and sign a player that might make a bit of a difference or whatever. But it just always feels like Spurs are relying on a little bit of luck. Let's see if we can and the only positive that I can see from this is that some way, somehow, we get a really dodgy game where somebody gets sent off. We end up scraping a 1-0 victory. We go on a bit of a run.
Under Tudor, Luke.
I don't think it will happen, but I'm just saying I'm hoping that is the case. And then when it gets to the end of the season, someone at that top goes, we can't keep doing this, because last year we used the excuse of the trophy. That's the reason why. This year there's all of that excuse is gone now. Like, this is where we are at a club, and we need to come up with a plan that's going to take us to the next level, and that next level isn't very high.
Just before I bring Jason, go on, Jason. Go on.
You're chucking names about, and the only name I can think of, and I'm not even sure I'm serious about that name, but that's available, that knows the league. You know, Brendan Rodgers could come in and give players confidence.
But he's in Saudi. He's in the Saudi league.
Has he? Oh, he's gone there. I didn't even realise he'd gone.
Yeah, he's in the Saudi league.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be giving up that full-time gig for
no,
at the moment.
Fair enough. I didn't even realise he'd gone to Saudi. That must have been when I was away. He must have gone there when I was away then. That one had totally gone past me. Right, okay. That's the only name I could think of at the top of my head.
It makes me laugh with Jason. Everyone always says about Jason that, he's not one for the transfer window. He's not one for this. You can tell why he's not. Bless his heart. I know. Luke, let me just come back to you on the point you're making there. Luke, for you right now, given the limited options, what would you do? Are you the same as Jason in his Harry Redknapp approach? Do you feel Harry Redknapp would offer the squad nothing? I just feel with Harry, he would connect with some of the English guys and try and raise the spirits. And you'd have maybe Jermaine there as a coach that knows the football club, knows Harry. Sherwood, I don't really agree with personally. For me, he's not someone that I would want back in the building. Wouldn't really do.
No, I don't think with Redknapp. I don't think Redknapp, and the reason I don't think it, and you're right, he might connect with some of the English lads, but when you actually look at the squad, quite a lot of them are young. He hasn't really been working in football for 10 years, using Micky van der Ven as an example. Micky van der Ven was 14 when he was last managing. Like, Micky van der Ven has no idea who Redknapp is. He's got no real understanding of what he is, what he's achieved, or anything like that. So when we're talking about him coming in and being able to actually link in, like we talk about him arm around shoulders and all this, that, and the other. It's a different era now. People are on phones, they're on and I can imagine some of these players going.
Ryan Mason. Ryan Mason's just been sacked by West Brom. But again, he's a young manager. I don't know. Would Ryan want to come back to the club, Luke?
I actually think one of the candidates that would be considered right now is Gareth Southgate. Because Southgate everything he does is about bringing everyone together. It's about bringing the team together, us against the world.
Short term.
And people say managers wouldn't take stuff on short terms. Like, if you're Tottenham Hotspur, you're going to lose hundreds of millions of pounds if you get relegated. If you turn around and said to a manager, we are going to give you £20 million to keep us in this league, I'm sure there's a lot of them that wouldn't really consider the Spurs job, that might go, actually, for 6 months' work with some of these players, a couple coming back, and who, like, we're in debt, we're in dire straits right now. We need to go. If we need to go and spend £10 million for someone to come in for 6 months, then that's exactly what we need to do. And the reason we need to do that now is because we didn't do it in January. We could have gone out and got a few players in January, and then we wouldn't have been in dire straits as much as we are now. So I think that there are a couple of names that might come out of the blue. And I wrongly gave the club some sort of credit because I thought they were bringing in Heitinger, and I thought he was going to be the one that would take over if Frank got sacked. A bit of a continuation. He's been in the club, he's understood it for a few months, and nope, he gets sacked, and then it literally just feels like at this moment in time we're just waking up and deciding to what's happening today. Let's go with what's happening today, and then tomorrow we'll decide something completely different. So this whole thing is exactly what, as a club, for the decisions that have been made, we're in the position that we should be in. But unfortunately, as fans, we don't deserve this, but we're also in it together as well.
So, Luke, at the moment, there's not it'd be your choice, Southgate, short term.
Just thinking off the top of my head right now, but
so again, limited in terms of the options.
Again, it comes down to we're focusing that Poch is the answer. And Poch is the person that's coming in.
Well, it could be De Zerbi. It could be De Zerbi. I mean, De Zerbi's available. Whether he wants the job now is another question.
That's the point. If De Zerbi's available now, and you're not interested in Poch, then I'll understand why they'd go and get De Zerbi. For me, De Zerbi in a year is not here. De Zerbi is an absolute not under this
ownership. No chance. No chance.
But if you're not going to get Poch, and Poch isn't the guy, then there's nothing stopping you going for a permanent manager now. That's obviously if there's interest. I just think that what you need to do right now, you can't bring in any players. You're not going to tactically be able to completely transform this team. Someone needs to come in there, and they need to get the players together. They need to get them as one, as a whole, as a group, someone that understands the Premier League, gets it, knows what's required.
Yeah.
And it sounds absolutely ridiculous that you're sitting there even saying Southgate is a possibility.
I know.
But out of what's there,
I
think it's an option.
Okay, Marlon, let's come over to you to close this segment off, because we do need to move on. Wish we could all move on from this club. I tell you, my God. Marlon, where are you on this situation around Tudor? Because he said in that press conference there that he can see some green shoots, and he's more confident now than before we kicked off. With 3 different formations, 3 defeats. Personally, I see no positives at all whatsoever. Yes, the playing group are probably, again, I will say this, it's one of the worst playing groups we've assembled in my lifetime at Spurs over 25, 30 years. So you're at a point where you're hoping someone can come in and get, 3 wins from the remaining games, which hopefully would be enough to keep us up. Marlon, where would you be going right now? Would you be sacking Tudor? Do you think Tudor deserves more time, Marlon?
Tough question. Tough question.
Is it a tough question? Is it a tough question?
It is a tough question because if I think we're getting relegated now, doesn't matter who you bring in. It doesn't necessarily matter if you go get Harry Jermaine, because I think you're going to get the same outcome.
So you think regardless now, whoever comes in is inconsequential. These players are done. That's what you think.
They are done. Like, have we not been watching the last 2 or 3 months? There's obviously a big. I think Romero's statement against the board means the players are not on this. They're not in this.
What about the fans? What about us?
What about we're booing them every week? They don't care about us right now. We're going there just booing them. So at this present moment, they're like, sod you lot too, because this is the worst situation we could be in, because we have now got to try and support these boys to get us out of this mess. The problem is we're booing them every week because they're playing so poorly. We've been booing them since the beginning of the season. So how the hell are they going to be sitting there playing for the fans? No,
the thing is, just to address this booing comment, I understand what you're saying about the booing, but the booing, and I understand, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah. That booing is there because when you're in that stadium or when you're at an away stadium, the only way you can really show your frustration beyond it being violent is to boo. But that booing, I think, is majority against the board.
But they're not doing anything about it apart from booing the players that have got to go and get us out of this situation. How many arguments have we had with the players in the last couple of months where they've had, especially in the way bit, where they've had to come over and we've been arguing with them? This is not doing anybody any good. You said, what about the fans? Unfortunately, the fans have got no say in what happens on that pitch half the time. Yes, we can support them and try and get them over the line, but we turned up against Arsenal and still got smashed. So
what do we do? Are we just going to sit back and accept this then?
This is why as a fan base, we've now got to make a conscious decision what we do over with these players, because we need these players to get us out of this situation.
Yeah,
we're there, right? So we've got booing them tonight is, again, they're looking at it going, well, they're booing us again. Well, and then they're going to turn up against Liverpool in a couple of weeks. They're going to boo us again. Don't matter. I said this on Sunday. I did say this at half time. The problem we've got now, we're in a difficult situation, because if we go against these players are just going to go down without a whimper, because as you lot all said at the beginning, half of them won't even be here next season. So we're showing our frustration. And yes, you're saying it's at the board, it's at this, it's at that. But we've got to somehow collectively come together. Everything has got to come together, and we've somehow got to all get ourselves out of this situation, because at this present moment we're all disconnected in different places and it's not working. You can clearly see we haven't won a game since December, since we beat Palace away. So at this present moment, what do we do? Because the manager could change tomorrow. Again, we turn up for the first half against Arsenal. They let us down as per usual, the players, because we've got to remember, they're the ones that, these players are at the club every day. So if there's a disconnect going at the training ground as it is, and then they're fighting against the board, and there's a lot of internal problems that we don't see as a fan base, these players are just still not going to turn up and do it for us. You can see the frustration. The fact that Van der Ven is getting sent off and he's the club captain today in a vital situation, not once has he, like, for him, a smart, just let him go. Just let him go through. But at this present moment, it's just kind of, how do we, as fans now, we've got to make a conscious decision on how we play this out for the next month or so. Because just going against the players is the last thing, especially when their confidence is on the floor. They're completely on the floor. The manager at the moment can't pick the right team here or there. And you're asking who the next manager is going to be. But who says, like Jason said, how is Harry Redknapp going to pick up these players? We don't know. At this present moment, there's so many things wrong. And even I'm sitting here debating in my head, what do I... So these players I don't trust, but at this present time, I need them to get my club out of this situation, our club out of this situation.
I just don't want to admit defeat. Like, I can't... as much as before we come onto this show, I said to you guys, can you give us another 45 minutes just to kind of get my head around what's going on?
But we're
I don't want to believe we're going to be relegated, but based on how we're playing and how we're looking and the feeling amongst the fan base, the players, the ineptitude of the board. I mean, the crazy thing about it is, the most worrying thing about it is that Spurs at the moment, they're actually not in the bottom three. But I've said this consistently in the last 2-3 months, so you guys know that if we drop into that bottom three, I've said this consistently, we will not have the bollocks to get out of this. We won't. 9 games, there is still time there to get results. But the worrying thing, as many know, is the lack of confidence shown by this group and the implosion that we've had across the season of players like Romero, now like Micky, Porro storming off down into the stands. I say stands, obviously going in to take his seat when he came off. Jason, am I searching for a solution that isn't there, mate? Am I searching for a solution that just isn't there? What do you think?
I don't know what you're searching for now, mate. I don't know what you're searching for. But whatever you're searching for, you ain't finding it.
Someone's got to save us. Surely someone's got to save us.
The players have to save us, don't they? The players have to save us. The players have to dig out at least 3 results. They're the ones that whoever the manager is, they're the ones on the pitch. They're the ones that if they go a goal down, can't be dropping their heads, slumping their shoulders, thinking, here we go again. The only ones that can show any character, any backbone, any fight in them is those players. And, there are so many look totally disillusioned. Not just short of confidence, but disillusioned at the whole club, the running of the club, the way
Jason,
they're treated.
you said this years ago, actually, when we were, I think, under the Pochettino era, when we was away from home. I remember you saying to me at that time, a lot of these players, they've normalized losing and it doesn't hurt anymore. Is that the biggest problem now with the group that we've got?
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's not just over the past 1 year, is it? That's going back now too long. For me, once a player, you look at Dragusin, for example, and it's unfair to pick on him because he's not one of the main first team players. But I think he started in like 28 games for us and won 4. There's a bloke that's totally used to losing. We're talking about Archie Gray, who's come in the last 2 years. He's lost far more games than he's won for us, hasn't he? And that, again, that's not picking on Archie Gray, but they've just got so used to losing that here we go again, here we go again, here we go again. And that's the sad thing. You have to break that cycle. And the only ones who aren't going to break that cycle is those players. And that's the worrying thing.
It is the worrying thing. Look, before we go for this next break, just so everybody understands the severity of the situation, and look, won't need reminding after I read this out to everybody, in terms of the job, whether the players have got to turn it around or we do change Igor Tudor, the damning indictment of Tottenham is that Wolves have won as many home games in this last week of Tottenham have since April 2025. The Premier League table in 2026 for Tottenham, fewest wins, 0 points. Most conceded, worst goal difference, and our bottom on 4 points from 10 games. We've had 1 win in 13 league games. We've lost 11 of them. In that time, we've also required last-minute equalisers to Newcastle and Burnley. Only Wolves and Burnley have lost and won fewer games than Tottenham in that time. We've gone behind in 10 of those games. We haven't scored more than 2 goals in any of those games. And in 2026, only Burnley have won fewer points than Tottenham. We have 1 home league win since August the 16th. And even that was 2 months ago. 2 home wins all season, 10 points from the last 14 home games. And to go back to that point, as you said about the players, 12 points from a possible 60. We've lost 35 of the last 69 Premier League games. Palace, Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth have got all more points than us in the last 3 calendar years. So this is unfortunately an indictment of how we've allowed this squad to run in these last 2-3 years. And like Luke said earlier, we never replaced Kane and Son. And every player that was brought in, unfortunately, was a downgrade of the players that departed. We've got 4 points in 10 games this year. We haven't won, like the boys have said, since the Palace away game in December of last year, and it's now March. If you look over the bigger timescale of that, 19 Premier League games, that's half a season over the last 5 months. That's taken, again, just the wind out of our sails, and you're looking and scrambling thinking, how are we going to get out of this mess? And we're just showing for listeners on audio here the relegation candidates and the games remaining. Luke, I'll ask you as we project this graphic on here, with the remaining fixtures to go, your gut feeling, Luke, are we going to stay up?
Yeah, I mean, again, trying to look at it from a more positive aspect, you would say that we probably have an easier-ish run out of the 3 of them. The problem is at this moment in time, we're the worst team in the league, so it depends on how you're looking at it. Can West Ham continue to have the run that they've had? Are they going to go through a bit of a blip? Have they kind of gone a bit early and had their run, and then now they're going to go back to back? But then they're picking up points against these difficult teams. Like you look even to yesterday, Newcastle go a man down, and they've got the fight and the desire to kind of to stay in the game and then go on and nick it. And I just can't see that at Spurs. I feel like, as I said, we need to go into a game where every single bit of luck just falls your way. A man gets sent off, you score a jammy own goal, and then somehow like you manage to see it out, and we could do. I think the guys are right. This is all coming down to the players. It's working hard and trying to find a way just to get over the line. But the manager and the tactics and the formation, we have to give them a chance. We can't keep putting players in the wrong positions consistently every single week, or swapping players out consistently every single week. They need to build up these partnerships. So I've still got faith. I think a couple of results and all of a sudden things can turn around, but it's very, very hard to see at this moment in time.
This projection, Marlon, that we're showing on screen here for listeners on audio, bases the fact that Spurs would only need to beat Forest and Leeds at home and get draws against Brighton, Wolves and Everton. I mentioned it earlier that if you look at the corresponding fixtures that we had last season at this point, the only team that Tottenham beat was Everton. That was the only win when you look at the corresponding fixtures of last season. Do you have faith based on this graphic we're going to finish 17th again, Marlon?
The players ain't showing that.
No.
That's the problem. They're not showing that they're gonna.
And we've all sat here and said we're not sure who the change would be or should be. So even we're confused about what to do next.
Yeah, it's so. If somehow in some miracle, because even tonight, there was a point, like Jason said earlier. Jason said something earlier. There's going to be a game that we just need to get so much luck in. It's not going to be pretty. We just need to pull the result. Well, tonight was nearly there until Van der Ven got sent off because we were so crap. But yet somehow we ended up with a VAR decision that was offside for his face. Look, and he's offside, nothing we can do. And then we went and scored straight away. You're thinking, oh my God, could this be the game that we just managed to just get through? And then Van der Ven does what he does. And then we kind of fell to pieces again. And right now, at this present moment, a lot of things just seem to be going against us in games. And that's what the biggest issue is. Because even like in the Fulham thing on Sunday, everyone will talk about the push in the back. But when your confidence is on the floor right now, you need decisions. You just need certain decisions to fall your way. And when you're in this sort of trouble, they're just not falling. They never do. No. And it's not just us, because there'll be other teams that have gone down. And when you, like I've always said, when you're near the top of the table, you always find yourself getting the better decisions. And when you're near the bottom, the decisions always seem to be against you.
Yeah.
So at this present moment, there's got to be a game in there. I don't know how we're going to do it. We need a Villarreal. That's what we kind of need, where we're absolutely crap. Goalkeeper scores for us, and we still manage to win the game. That's what we basically need right now, just to get them back to winning. They just need to remember how to win, because I'm looking at that going, I don't see, apart from possibly Forest, they could get a win out of.
Well, yeah. I mean, this projection graphic, Jace, just to close you on this, we're going to move on, would have Tottenham just only needing to win the Forest game and the Leeds game and then draws at home to Brighton, at home to Wolves away, which now looks really optimistic, and at home to Everton, we'd be losing to Liverpool, Sunderland, Villa, and Chelsea. I mean, I know you probably don't like these projections that are put together by optimistic fans, maybe. Does this give you any sense of comfort or hope, Jason, or do you just more based on the fact we need, as you said, to get a win from somewhere, anywhere, to try and change the mood?
Well, if someone can genuinely predict the results of 27 games and get all 27 right, they're going to be a hell of a millionaire, aren't they? I mean, give me their phone number and I'll back them every week, and I'll win thousands on the bookies. You know, I mean, Aston Villa, for instance, you got Aston Villa beating all three of us. Aston Villa are so poor at the moment, they've given up the league. They won't win all three of us. They might beat us, but they won't beat us, Forest and West Ham. That's for sure. And by the time you get to Everton, who knows what the scenario is? Who knows what other teams are doing by then? So you can only look at your next game. That's it. I mean, we weren't expecting to go to Liverpool missing Micky van der Ven tonight, were we?
No.
So there's something that's gone against us straight away. So it's irrelevant looking at 9 games. You can only look at one at a time. I still believe we need to win minimum 3 games to stay up. Minimum 3 games. And you look at it and you think, I'd be surprised if it's at Liverpool. I'd be surprised if it's at Chelsea. So you're talking about 3 wins from the other 7. If we get those 3 wins by hook or by crook, how we get them, I don't know. Yeah. But then I think we'll be all right. But that Forest game is obviously the huge one because it's hurting a team that's immediately below you.
No, but would you say, Jason, it's
I think we need 3 wins if one of them's Forest. We might need 4 wins if we lose to Forest. That's what I mean.
But it's unthinkable to think that Igor Tudor, based on his run so far, could be here for that Forest game. It feels that we need... People probably think I'm crazy to keep saying this about changing the manager, because I understand fully what Marlon is saying about the playing group. How many more fresh impetuses do we need, Jace? But do you agree? It's got to be someone different in there for that Forest game, hasn't it? Got to be.
Well, I certainly don't think Igor Tudor wins that game. So, you know.
Okay. Look, let's move on. We're going to go for our final break of the show. For our listeners that are on audio, thank you to the over 15,500 with us on Last Word on Spurs. Please make sure, can I ask you right now, if you can, please subscribe to Marlon over at Spurs Kings TV. They're in the collab link, as is Luke over at Spotlight on Spurs. They give up so much time for this wonderful show. Jason is away for around a month or potentially maybe longer. He's off to Thailand and I'm losing him again. And I did ask him before the show started. I said, Jace, please stay. And his response was, for this, stay for this. He started this with me. Look, before we do move on, we're going to talk about the players just to close on this point. We are always delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. We have got, of course, at least one away day left to come. Of course, Atletico Madrid for the away fans that listen and watch this show, for those around the world that are traveling. If you would like to, of course, check out your favourite shows, movies, get a break away from Spurs, maybe even a holiday with discounted opportunities around holiday flights, tickets, all that shebang. If you go to nordvpn.com/LWS, our link will give you an extra 4 months on a 2-year plan. There is no risk with Nords. 30-day back money guarantee. We want to close with the players. If we can for you out there, guys, again, if you can, like, hype, subscribe to this show. That would be greatly appreciated. I want to close with a group of players because, like you boys said, if we're going to get out of it, it will be this playing group that will have to simply drag us out of the game. We made the point beforehand that Igor Tudor made 4 changes to the side. Danzo returned to the back 4, and Sousa was given his first start for the football club. The team red for Tottenham, they lined up with Vicario, Porro, Danzo, Van der Ven, Sousa, Gray, Polina, Sarr, Kolomowani, Solanke, Tell, with a bench of Kinski, Austin, Xavi, Basuma, Richarlison, Gallagher, Ola Cisse, Kieran Roswell as part of that bench. It looked like it was going to be a 3-4-3 when Spurs lined up eventually with Porro tucked in as a right centre-back and Gray as a right wing-back, which maybe was there to maybe match Palace up. But again, 3 different formations in 3 different games from Igor Tudor, and Spurs were lucky not to be behind in the opening 49 seconds when Vicario made a big save to deny Adam Wharton. And eventually, we had a bit of a scare where Palace had the ball in the back of the net which after a long VAR check for offside, it was a judge that, it was by, I think, the nose of a Palace player that we got the decision. And it's funny because, you would like things like that to go for you in general. There haven't really been for us. But Luke, to come over to you, you made that point earlier that when Spurs went ahead, it was a brilliant bit of play from Archie Gray in that move that beat a couple of players to set up Solanke. Is it fair to say, Luke, that at this time, this goal came against the run of play?
Yeah, they'd had a little bit more of the ball. You could tell that they definitely had a little bit more confidence. Obviously, as we say, that the offside goal, which looked very tight at one stage, probably was going to be on. But we hadn't really created a hell of a lot. But it wasn't a great game from either side. But they were definitely the better of the two teams. But great play by Gray, and as you said, nice little finish as well by Solanke. And you just hope you can kick on from that point. And unfortunately, as you said, literally 7 minutes of madness. And it's just again, how many times have we come on this show and said what a crazy situation that Spurs are in? Crazy 10 minutes, crazy decision, crazy VAR, crazy whatever it may be. It's just it kind of followed suit for the rest of the season. But it was a good bit of play, and that should have been the benchmark for them to grow a little bit of confidence, get to half time, and kind of settle themselves down. But wasn't meant to be.
No. And Jason, on that decision, just to bring you in, I know at the time we were both saying at halftime, I called you and said, "What's Micky done?" It's just a moment of absolute madness, which then follows an implosion for Spurs in the space of 7 minutes. I'll ask you, Jason, again on air, what was going through Micky van der Ven's mind in this moment? Because can you explain what he's doing here to get the wrong side of the player, bring him down, take the red card in what was a must-win game for Tottenham? It felt like a must-win game.
Nothing was going through his brain, Rick. Nothing at all was going through his brain, which is why he did it. It's just brainless, absolutely brainless. Like I said, I don't think Sar's going to get the ball, but even if he does, so be it. I mean, to pull him down, give the penalty away. Does he think he's outside the box and he's going to get away with it? Has he checked where he is? But to do it inside the penalty, give the penalty away and get yourself sent off. That's not somebody that's focused or concentrating on the game. That's scandalous what he did, and all that goodwill of kicking a ball off the line in a final has just evaporated tonight if we go down, because it's just idiotic, mate. I mean, think of our worst defenders in history, like Ramon Vegas and Vlad Kirikes and things. It's the type of thing that they would have done. Not somebody who's supposed to be a Rolls-Royce footballer, for God's sake. He was poor at Fulham on Saturday, and that tonight is it's just ridiculous. And since he's taken the armband, his performances have nosedived. That's for sure. He was anonymous in the Arsenal game when things were going on. I mean, he's whether he's feeling the pressure of being the captain through it and thinking I'm the linchpin, I'm the only one that can dig us out of it. Whether it's scrambled his brain, but that's a scrambled brain challenge where just the concentration thought have just gone, mate.
And then Marlon, following that moment of action from Micky, of course, Palace do score the resulting penalty that brings them level in the game. And then what we see straight after that immediately is a double substitution from Tudor. Gallagher and Basuma replacing Sousa and Colomawani. I was saying to Jason, I joked, I said, are we playing Brazil? Are we playing Barcelona? Not because, Palace were looking like Barcelona, but was that the right thing to do? It felt like a very ultra cautious approach. I know we've lost a man, but that was the game Spurs needed to win. And many would probably say, well, look, we've conceded 9 and, more. We've conceded 2 goals in a row for the 9th successive game. It's a club record. So we had to shore it up. But Marlon, could you understand that particular double change?
Probably yes. When I say yes, it's because Danso is the only defender on the pitch, central defender. You've got Pedro Porro, who's playing in defence at the time. He's more an attacking player. So you kind of have to... and then you've gone and put Paulinho there, and I think that the third goal summed up why Paulinho is not really a defender. But at the same time, when you've only been with these players for 2 weeks and you've been with this squad for 2 weeks, you don't know what they can and can't do. Like, everyone's expecting quick fixes, but if there's an internal problem at this club, then unless the manager knows what's going on inside and out, the next one, he's going to have the same problems. Like, he's going to start putting players on where he can. And if you think about it, and I said this, once Basuma came back into this squad, we were on a hide into nothing, because this was a player that should have been gone, absolutely gone. And now we're relying on him because he's one of the only players that is left fit that's in there to play. And when I say left fit, it's because everyone else is injured. And for some reason, the only players that we have left in this team is all our midfielders. And all of them are now all playing in different positions. And we're relying on them to play in different positions. Like when we're relying on Conor Gallagher at the weekend to play right wing, like what the hell's going on? You've got Paulinho being relied on to play in defence. Depends on how people look at it, because I think Archie's a better right back than he's played anywhere else. I think Archie Gray's been better at playing where he has than when he has played in central midfield, but another one who wants to play centre midfield, and he's played everywhere.
Yeah.
So I get why he tried to do it, but what should have happened, because I think it was just panic. It was absolute panic in that situation. But what he should have done at half time, and I think this is where we then failed to see in a must-win game, we're 3-1 down. You've just got to change it again. You've got to say, look, I've made a mistake. I've somehow got to put these attacking players on the pitch and try and get us back into this game. And yeah, it's just out at the moment. Tudor is looking like he can't handle this, and he was meant to be the guy. But even then, this is the guy that Paratici apparently wanted to bring in November. Yeah. Paratici, when was the last time he picked a good manager? Everyone likes to think he's all this great. Paratici's great at picking players and stuff, but he's another one. He's part of this mess too, you know.
You're right, Marlon.
Everyone's accountable.
Everyone's accountable. You're right. You're right. Luke, to come over to you. So we see Strand Larsen scoring added time in the first half. Tell put Sarr in trouble. And, you know, we've been praising Tell a lot for his attitude and application. Again, it's just moments of madness from players, really, that have cost us in this situation. And this one here, Wharton tees up the Palace striker to poke through the legs of Vicario in what was a disastrous 10-minute period for Spurs since we actually scored to go 2-1 up. And then I suppose you're fearing, Luke, from here, as soon as that second one goes in, the fear is there, Luke, that the third one's going to follow fairly soon. Is that fair?
Yeah. You kind of, soon as they went 2, you kind of think there's no way we're getting back into this. Like they'll nick another one. Like you start looking, straight away, I'm like, right, 70th minute, we're going to really start tiring. The players are going to have been, he's obviously made 2 subs. So I felt like we was never going to get back into it. Obviously, I think it was around the 60 mark where the second half where we came out for a good couple of minutes. But again, it's like that typical old things, old sayings in football. When you're on top, you just need to nick a goal and then things might change. But Spurs seem to be very, very good at having a 5-minute spell, not scoring, and then conceding immediately afterwards. And then that went straight back to my fear. Was like, right, we've dominated for a few minutes. If we don't score now, we'll concede in 2. So again, but it just simple basic stuff. We were speaking just before, and Tell should never make that pass. Of course he shouldn't, but a centre midfielder should be able to hold the ball in the Premier League. He shouldn't, like, the problem we've got is that when someone's on the ball, nobody shows. Everybody is hiding. Everybody's standing behind the player. Nobody's taking that 2 steps to the side and going, look, I'll take it on. And there was a stat that we talked about earlier on in the season. Every time we come up against a good, experienced, solid midfielder, they'd outpassed us. That single midfielder had outpassed our midfield. I think there was Jordan Henderson, Xhaka, and it may have even been Adam Wharton. Yeah. Adam Wharton today, you could just see the ball's coming to him. He knows where he's going. He's popping it off. He's pinging it around the corner. He's dropping off.
Luke,
that was goal, massive.
Let you come back on that point. That third goal, the amount of space that Adam Wharton had to clip the ball over the top for Sarr to poke past Vicario.
Yeah, and this is the problem. Like when you're talking about players like that you're trying to create something, you need to have other players. Like, we haven't got superstars. We haven't got a Gareth Bale where you give him the ball and he goes and beats 5 players and he scores. That's not going to happen. So we need to do things as a team. If you're on the pitch and players are going hiding, they're listen, when you've played at a decent level or you've watched it for long enough, you can see there's certain players that think, I don't want it. Sarr didn't want that ball. Sarr did not want that ball, and if he was full of confidence, we'd been winning games and everything else, he would have wanted it. You can't have that. You can't have that when you're down there. You need players that are going to command the ball. This is why buying all these young players, you need to bring in experienced players that are used to handling certain situations, and that was one of the big problems for us. It's just like, as I say, every time we come up against the midfielder that's above our levels, you can just see it within seconds. But Danso was also at fault for that goal. Danso was very flat-footed. The ball's played in behind him. He's got no idea where he's going. Again, he's played on the wrong side. I completely get it. But this goes back to the whole where Romero's made a couple of red cards. He's made a couple of mistakes. Right, get him out because we're better than him. Okay, well, his replacement is Danso, and Danso really struggled today. That Danso struggled in so many aspects. Strand Larsen, who I think is good, really came and dominated him in so many aspects. He beat him in the air for the penalty. Danso was in no man's land. He just got absolutely dominated. So these are the sorts of things, like when we've got players, you talk about get rid of them, or go and sign someone else. You need to bring better players in, and we just don't do it. And this happens consistently. But we've all said this. I'm sure you guys have said it as well. For the last 12 months, 18 months, we've been saying we need a dominant midfielder that's going to come in, dictate the ball, want the ball, and kind of make this team tick. And Marlon's right. I've probably said about 15 times, Basuma should not be at this football club. And I was one, when we signed him, I was going, this guy can change him. This guy can change Spurs, because he was so good in certain aspects. But it hasn't worked. And what do Spurs do when a signing doesn't work? They keep them and they keep them and they keep them and they keep them, and they don't just go, right, it hasn't worked, let's go and get rid of. That, and that's exactly what we need to do. Again, it goes back to having absolutely no plan. And the Brennan Johnson thing, I don't want to keep going back to that, but he is a prime example of what's the issue at Tottenham Hotspur. Forget about Brennan Johnson and whether you think he's a good player or you don't. That's irrelevant. Last year, he was a vital cog in a managerial system that got goals. That was exactly what he was. That's what Ange done with him and got him goals. We then sack that manager, and the next person that comes in within 6 months sells him. That is the exact problem at this club. We are buying players based on what the manager is right now, but the next manager is something completely different, and therefore needs a completely different system, a completely different style of player. And then what you do is you make all of your previous signings completely irrelevant for the next man. So when people talk about rebuilds, most clubs don't go through rebuilds, because what they do is they look at a structure, they buy for that structure. When it doesn't work with a manager, they go and get another manager that does very similar things, and then he can carry on that progression. Whereas what we do, we bring in a manager, bring in all the players that kind of suit him, sack him off, change all the players, go to a different manager, got a completely different system. And Brennan Johnson went from your top scorer and was a vital cog in a managerial system to sold within 6 months. And that isn't a Brennan Johnson problem. That isn't a Frank problem or an Ange problem. That's a club problem. You need to get the idea right and follow that idea through.
Yeah. I just wonder how, close on this point, how Vicario recovers from this, Marlon, because he got massively booed after the third goal. And then at half time, just before he was going down the tunnel, it kicked off, and there were supporters shouting at the Spurs analysts and the press box, and Vicario's walking past. I mean, there was talk beforehand that Kinski might have started. Wasn't there? There's big rumours beforehand that Kinski might have started, but Vicario, another 3 goals conceded, booed by his own fans. I mean, like a lot of these players, his confidence must be on the floor now, Marlon Vicario.
He's being scapegoated, isn't he? And that's the problem. But the issue that I have with it was, I think, I'm pretty sure it was me that done Newcastle reaction when we went out of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
Everyone slated Kinski. So every time Kinski's come in, everyone has absolutely slated him.
I know. Well, Jason said it. Jason said it in the earlier part of the season. Remember Jason saying,
Jason
forget about upgrading Kinski. Forget upgrading Vicario. Looking to upgrade
Kinski. Yeah, and this is the big issue. Kinski's earning all these plaudits for not playing, and then as soon as he comes in, he's thing. And then Austin, I'm sorry, he's just as bad. Like, did anyone not watch him in the Europa League games that he did play last year? He's not going to come and do anything. Like, I know he came in against Newcastle and played well last year, but that's because we were on the floor.
It's funny. Austin had a man of the match display against Newcastle,
but we lost.
And what did we do? But what did we do 24 hours after that? We went and brought another goalkeeper in.
But I'm not sitting there saying, but Austin's not the answer. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying Austin's not the answer. But what kind of mindset does that set the group?
Yeah. So look at this present moment, because I know full well, and maybe we just need to do it, is put Kingsley in goal so people can say, actually, we've recruited badly and we haven't recruited a decent goalkeeper.
But we know that for a lot of the players of the squad. Like, I look at the players, and this is really important. I want to close on this point. I'm looking at this team at the moment, the way they're playing, thinking, who is going to really dig us out of this? You know, Mawani was taken off with Sousa, went straight down the tunnel, right? Richarlison, like Jason said earlier, Richarlison's the one player. He came on for the final 15 minutes. He put himself about. Xavi Simons came on, wasn't able to produce anything really in the time he came on. We're all sitting here saying that if we're going to get out of this, it probably won't be a manager because of the limited amount out there. It's going to be the players. But I can't tell you one player that, maybe bar Archie Gray, that is fighting for us.
I think, look, if we somehow need to get Romero back on side, somehow, some way, because he's got the talent to get us out of this mess. He can be that good, but somehow we've got to make sure that he's in for. He probably will be, but we've got to make sure he doesn't get frustrated where he is going to get himself sent off. And Jason said something earlier, which about it's got to be Richie and Solanke for the rest of the season, because if you remember in the Europa League campaign last year, it was Richie on the left and Solanke up top. So we need to, and Richie was playing on the left a lot for Everton when he got them out of it with Calvert-Lewin at the time.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going. And then it's from the midfield where that kind of needs to be not disjointed as it is, and you need to go pick a three that are going to be the main three to get you out of it. Because at the moment, I probably would say that we haven't had midfield three, probably haven't played more than 5 games together as a pairing, and depending on who that is, because they've all been rotated at some point. You need to get some consistency in the picking the team as well, because you kind of need them to every game now. You need them to get to know each other and what each other are doing. Yeah. So, and then the rest, you kind of hope where you get your Archie Grays will put the effort in and they will start to pick up, because, like, don't get me wrong, Tell is putting in the effort, but that second goal is on him because he's not thinking. And then Van der Ven doing what he's doing because they're not thinking, they're not clever players, they're not intelligent enough.
No. And that's the problem with all the goals we've conceded. They're all avoidable mistakes from players. Guys, I don't want to keep any longer. I know it's difficult. Jason, you've got a break away, so you've got a bit of a time away from this. When I know it's disgusting, Luke. I did try and refuse the annual leave slip, but he wouldn't have it. And Joey said to me, he went to me, I don't plan on booking me for anything for at least 2, 3, 4 weeks because I might extend my ticket. That's the gratitude I get for knowing him from nearly 10 years.
Force him. You have to force him. He has to be back.
If we was in the stadium, I'd be booing him as well.
Yeah, I'm booing him too. Yeah, we'll boo him after this. Yeah, boo.
Boo me as much as you want. It ain't changing me. That's for sure. I'm off.
Jason, are we, mate, closing it? Are we getting out of this, Jace? Give me something, mate. Don't leave us on this.
Are we getting out of it? Like I say, we need 3 wins, mate. We need 3 wins. And you can't see them coming. That doesn't mean to say we won't get them. But I can't see Tudor winning them. So something crazy has to happen. Something crazy, something out of the ordinary has to happen. But we've all been around football long enough to know crazy things do happen. But we are in, last chance saloon and clinging on by our fingertips, aren't we?
You know, and again, it's not about a point scoring thing. You know, you said a few months ago when you was on here. Sorry, go on, mate.
Like I say, Wolves shows you what can happen. They were absolutely gone, Wolves, in a horrendous state, 2-0 down to Arsenal, and they somehow get back to 2-2. Didn't the bloke scored who'd never scored a goal in his life before?
I said to you earlier about Harry. This is not me saying to you Harry's the answer, but maybe just bringing somebody back that can just maybe lift everyone around the football club. Maybe just something like that makes a difference.
But in fairness, that wasn't Rob Edwards' first game, was it? He'd been there 2 or 3 months now. You know, but it just shows you something like that can happen, that you just can't foresee that happening. I mean, look at them in midweek against Liverpool. At no stage did they look like they'd win that game, Wolves, and yet they still ended up winning it. So unusual things do happen, but we are clutching at straws, and none of us can see it happening, but that's not to say it won't.
Yeah. But the one thing it feels like we are all in total alignment here, guys, without having to go around all of you again, is the fact that if Tudor stays, we're going down. Is that I think that's the feeling, isn't it, Marlon, Luke? If Tudor stays in charge for these remaining 9 games to go, I think it is now, we are getting relegated. So something has to change in these next 24, 48 hours. And I think even whoever comes in for the Liverpool game, I think that's a loss as well. So you need to have somebody in that's going to have the time to prepare themselves for that Forest game on the 22nd of March, which is absolutely massive. It's absolutely massive. And the key thing about it is that still for Tottenham, it is in our own hands at the moment. But the worrying thing, again, I'll say, is that if we drop into the bottom 3, that's when I think, acceptance of the situations is there. Luke, I want to say a massive thank you, mate, for coming back on. Anything you're expecting, Luke, towards the end of the week with Tottenham? Would nothing surprise you?
Hey, look, this is Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it? Like, we if we can come up with something crazy, then we will do it. But the facts are is that this group needs to pull together. I've said before that I think that they will be going onto the pitch going, look, there's no doubt loads of these players are injured in some aspects. They've got small injuries, niggles and things like that. And they'll be looking at that January window going, listen, you could have helped us out and you didn't. And you've allowed us, the owners, you've allowed us to go out onto this pitch and be booed week in, week out. Yeah, we probably need to pull our socks up a little bit, but we need some help and we didn't get it. And I think that you need someone in there to go and do that and basically do us against the world. Look, you've got the owners that are not backing you. You've got because this manager that's here is probably only here for a few weeks. Use whatever tools you can, slag the club off, do whatever you can to these players behind closed doors. Just get them all on side, get them all fighting for each other against everyone else, and let's see where we can go. But football's very, very strange. Within a couple of weeks, West Ham could have gone on a run, not 1 in 4, 5, and then all of a sudden we're sitting there a couple of points clear and everyone's smiling. But after you have a little bit of a therapy session, you seem to get a little bit more positive, and that's what I'm doing. I feel like we're gonna pull away from it. We're gonna do all right. But I think that's probably because other teams are gonna struggle.
I hope, Luke, that when I wake up tomorrow morning, I feel better, because right now I've got this thing in the pit of my stomach. I feel absolutely sick. I am terrified. We are going down at the moment. Something's got to change. Mars, thank you so much, mate, for all your time. Oh, I don't know what's going to hold for the next 24, 48 hours with Tottenham, right? Like Jason said, something maybe crazy has to happen. I mean, that's almost guaranteed in Tottenham world, saying crazy happens. It's whether, like Jason said earlier, it's a crazy thing that happens, which ends up being the right decision out of what Jason said. There's been a lot of wrong decisions, it feels, over the course of this season.
Yeah, look, I didn't say who the man. Look, I know I didn't pick a manager earlier, but if I had my ideal choice to come in right now, and I'd beg Liverpool fans to allow us to have him for 9 games, but Jurgen Klopp is the guy to come and save us in this situation. I know it's far-fetched, but he's probably the only person that could come and save us for these 9 games. He'd get the players on side.
You don't really think that's doable, Marlon, do you?
If we said to him, come and save us, if you've got to throw some money at him, and if somehow, some way the Liverpool fans were like, you know what, yeah, we'd allow him to come back to the Premier League, and he's only going to be at Spurs.
He's not going to grant permission from them, is he?
No, but that's what he's that in the back of his mind. That's what he's
Jason was actually nodding there as well. Jason was nodding with you.
Yeah, but this is what he's in his mind. He's got so much in his heart for Liverpool and how he should, like a certain man in America has for us, that he kind of will think that if they don't allow it, he don't want to ruin his legacy a little bit, because he owes them that much. He does owe them that much. However, he's the man out of anybody in the world of Europe that could probably help us out. But look, I'm just clutching at straws. But Jurgen Klopp, with this squad and the way he plays, possibly could do something.
I go back to that point. I think it's really important maybe to close it on this, that I just, at the moment, for anybody coming in, who wants Tottenham Hotspur on their CV of relegating them? A club that's never been out the top flight in the Premier League. Fact.
But if anybody comes in now, like,
you're right. You're a hero. You're right. You're a hero.
Because they're already in a dire situation.
Yeah.
The person that this all sits on will always be Thomas Frank. That's what he's going to be known for. Thomas Frank is going to be known us to get us in this situation, and the board. They got us up to this point.
The board are more culpable than anyone, even more than Thomas Frank goes. The board are, like I said, this board deserve relegation for what they've put Tottenham in.
But that's what's going to happen. The relegation is going to happen because of what they've done. I know everyone's going to go, but the fans don't deserve it. But we've allowed the board for so many years. We have to put it out there. We've allowed them to get away with this because when we do try and protest against the board and stuff like that, the numbers are low. So we've been happy. We've got to say we've been happy with what they've been doing. Then obviously, that's how you got to look at it.
Regards to the manager as well. Regards to the manager, we forget because we're not in that environment. All of these managers think that they are the absolute bee's knees.
Yeah.
That's the reason Mourinho come. That's the reason Conte come. Because if they come here and do something at Spurs, they turn around and use that as a thing on their CV to go, I even done it at Tottenham. And that's what top managers will be coming in. They'll be coming in here going, do you know what? If I go in there in 9 games and win 3 or 4 and I end up finishing 4 or 5 points clear, everyone's going to go, what an unbelievable achievement that was. Like that is.
It doesn't, like, for Tudor, this doesn't impact his CV at all because it's Tottenham.
No. Doesn't impact any Spurs manager, but like I say, it goes back to the point now that anybody coming into this, they do maybe fear to themselves, I'll have a relegation of Tottenham on their CV. But Luke, you think there'll still be managers out there with the ego to believe I can go in there and turn this around, Luke?
If you're going to, like, I know people are saying about like Klopp, it will never happen and things like that. There's 9 games, right? You've got 2 Champions League games. Say there's 11 games there, 12 games there. And you go and say, look, we will give you 2 million a game. You got 20 million pound for doing 2 months worth of work. You can come here, get us clear. They will be looking at it. Some of these players going, if I can get them, singing a tune out of Romero, Van der Ven will be back in 2 games time. If I can get them 2 together, I got Gallagher who's done decent things at Chelsea. You got Palhinha who's gone to Bayern. If I can get them singing just for a couple of weeks, and it'll pull clear, everyone will be going, what a job he's done, by the way. He's only been there 9 weeks. What a job he's done. And he's then got another contract. So there'll always be top managers that do it. Otherwise, Mourinho would never have come here. Why would you, if you were Mourinho or Conte, you've won things absolutely everywhere. Why would you go to the club that ain't won nothing in 20 odd years? Because there's no point. But they think if I go there and do it, I can use that as like, I've done it. And that's what Angie's going to do. Angie's going to go around to everyone that says you failed at Forest, and he's going to go, I also won a trophy at Tottenham. How many people have done that? You got to play that card.
We need a manager with an ego.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's see what Spurs have up their sleeve, because right now, if I think Tudor stays here, this club is only going one way. I want to say a massive thank you. Marlon, thank you so much. Luke, thank you so much. Please make sure that in the collab link you subscribe to Spurs Kings TV and Spotlight on Spurs. Jason, thank you, mate. Jason, that means all the love to you, mate. Go and have a nice breakaway. Don't think about them. Don't worry about them, because they'll be here when you come back. I terrify myself where we'll be when you are back. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing I worry about. Where will we be when you're back?
Thing is, you say go and have a nice break. I'd only just come back a couple of weeks ago from the previous one. I need one already.
Yeah, but I've still got to carry on doing this. What about me? I don't get a break from this. Oh, my God. Listen, thank you to the over 18,000 that have been with us through this episode of Last Word on Spurs. I know right now for everybody out there, it's a really, really difficult time, but we will be with you every step of the way. And if the unthinkable thing happens, we'll still be with you. But let's hope that's not going to happen, and we're going to find our way out of this. This is going to be some rescue job. Let's see what Spurs have up their sleeve. That's the scary thing about this. From Marlon, from Luke, from Jason, from me, we have been the Last Word on Spurs. Let's see what Tottenham do next. From us all, keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.